Hello students, welcome back. Let's go back to section 1 and complete it. Previously, we went through power functions. Now, what other functions do you have to know? Here's an absolute value function that looks like a V shape. Okay. A flow function, which has many discontinuities. F of x is the greatest integer, not more than x. And whenever x is an integer, we have discontinuity. Ceiling function, similar, the smallest integer not less than x, and we have step function like this with discontinuity if and only if x is an integer. They're no big deal, but our textbook author mentions those, so I just mentioned those too. Otherwise, I don't have intention coming back to any of these. Let's go to this, and this one deserves our attention. Piecewise defined functions. It is possible to define a function piece by piece. In this particular case, we have 3 intervals. When x is less than or equal to -2, which I just highlighted in blue, in this case we have one expression of the function, and that graph is this blue curve. And we draw this blue curve only for x is less than or equal to -2, so only here, because that's when we have this first line. When x is equal to -2, that's part of the graph down here, so we have the solid dot. Now, what if x is greater than -2? Here's a second line. In this interval, x is greater than -2 but less than or equal to +1, then we have the second line like this. And that's represented by this red graph. And then x equals to 1 is included here. So when x equals to 1 is part of the red graph, so we have the solid red dot here. But when x is equal to -2, that's not the second line, that belongs to the first line. So we have this hollow dot here. This is just a placeholder. This is not a part of the graph. So when x is equal to -2, function value is down here, -1, because that belongs to the first line. Now when x is greater than 1, green, in that case, we have this expression, and that corresponds to this green curve. Please note that this green curve is valid only when x is greater than 1, strictly greater than 1. Now, whenever you see these kind of piecewise defined function, you can find possible discontinuities from these possible breaking points. Breaking may occur at x equals to -2 because -2 is shared by the both first line and second line. You have to look closely to which interval -2 belongs to. -2 belongs to the first interval, less than or equal to. So x equal to -2, it belongs to blue, so we have the solid blue dot here. Not over there. Now, x equals to 1, in that case, these two values at x equals to 1 here and there, they happen to generate the same function value of 4, but still, I highlighted red here because x equals to 1 belongs to the second line, not to the third line. For example, if I change this graph a little bit, let me change this expression too. Let me see. Okay, let's do it this way. Let me change this third line a little bit. So, used to be +2, but now I changed to +1. So, y-coordinate was reduced by 1. Previously +2, now +1. So, y-coordinate went down by 1. So, all these green points here will have to come down by 1 unit. And then if I do that, it's going to be this kind of graph, but I have to be a little bit careful about the point. You see, red point is correct. As for the green, I need some work. Please don't pay too much attention to this mathematical code here. Don't panic, you don't really have to know all these. I'm doing this for just instructional purpose. Oh, excuse me. Okay, all right. That'll complete this. So, compared with this, I just move this green curve down by 1 unit. So, when x equals to 1, it belongs to the second interval. So we have this red dot here. That's the part of the graph. This one is just a space filler. Now what if changes into this? Now x equals to 1 belongs to the third interval. In that case, this should be solid and that should be hollowed out, right? So I will change accordingly. Okay. Oh, that's not right. Okay, all right. I corrected it now. Now this graph corresponds to this. So x equals to 1 no longer belongs to the second line. Now it belongs to the third line. Therefore, solid dot belongs to green curve, which corresponds to the third line. And hollow dot replaces previously solid dot in this red curve because we have strict inequality here. So x equals to 1 is not part of the second interval, represented by the red curve. You can change things like these. And these kind of subtleties are all necessary for piecewise defined functions. There are similar problems like these in MyMathLab, so please go through those. Otherwise, I'll say section 1 is done.